You know that feeling when you're really trying to improve at something, maybe like learning English, and it just feels, overwhelming, like this huge mountain of information.
Oh, absolutely. We've all been there.
Yeah.
You want to make real progress, efficient progress, but without getting totally lost.
Exactly. And that feeling, that desire for powerful progress without the overwhelm, that's what we're really digging into today.
Yeah, we're going to unpack two, I think, really powerful ideas. One is about maybe not shouting your goals from the rooftops all the time.
Interesting. Okay. And the second?
And the second is about how to learn efficiently, strategies. So the learning actually sticks and you're not just spinning your wheels.
Right. So you feel like you're actually moving forward, making that powerful progress.
Precisely. And look, this isn't just theory. We've got this great source material that dives into this specifically for English learning. It's got personal stories, actionable tips.
Yeah.
Really practical stuff.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is to pull out the absolute best insights from that source, the things that can genuinely help you, the listener, cut through the noise on your English journey and make some real strides.
Let's do it.
All right, first up, this idea of pursuing goals quietly. What does that actually mean in practice?
Well, essentially it means putting your energy into the doing, into the learning and improving itself, without necessarily needing that constant pat on the back from others,
It's more of an inward focus then.
Exactly. Focusing on the process, your own growth, rather than seeking external validation all the time.
Which is interesting because, conventional wisdom often says, tell everyone your goals, accountability.
Right. But this source highlights a potential downside to that, something called pre-completion.
Pre-completion, what's that?
It's this idea that when you announce a goal, especially publicly, your brain gets a little hit of satisfaction, almost like you've already achieved something just by talking about it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that premature sense of achievement can, counterintuitively, actually reduce your intrinsic motivation. Your drive to do the actual hard work might dip a bit.
That's fascinating. Like you trick your brain. And I can see how this applies directly to learning English. If you declare, okay, I'm going to be fluent by December.
Yeah. What happens when you hit that inevitable plateau? Or just a slow week, which always happens in language learning.
Right. That public declaration suddenly becomes this huge source of pressure.
Exactly. Unnecessary pressure. And if you feel like you're falling short of that public goal, it can be super demotivating. Might even make you want to just quit.
So the quiet approach avoids that. It lets you focus your energy on the daily grind, the reading, listening, the speaking practice because you find value in it, not because you're performing for an audience.
Precisely. It fosters that internal discipline. Patience with yourself. It's not about being secretive, really.
No, it's about where you place your focus.
Yeah. Prioritizing your own satisfaction, your own progress, over maybe what others think. And this quiet dedication, this inward focus, it links directly to the other big idea, learning efficiently.
Okay, that makes sense. So you're focused, you're putting in the work quietly. But how do you make sure that work is actually, working? What is efficient learning?
Efficient learning is basically getting the maximum learning output for the time and energy input you provide. It's not about magic bullets or shortcuts.
Right.
It's about smart practice, focused, effective methods.
And why is that so crucial for English learners? I mean, most people are juggling jobs, families, life.
Well, exactly that. Time and energy are finite, aren't they? Efficient learning means you can make real progress even with limited time. And crucially, it helps prevent burnout.
Ah, okay. How so?
Because when you use effective methods, you see results more clearly. You notice the improvement. And that tangible progress is incredibly motivating. It keeps you going.
Got it. So the source breaks down some key principles for this. What are some of the big ones for English learners?
Okay, number one, absolutely crucial. Active recall.
Active recall.
Yeah. Instead of just passively rereading notes or listening again, you actively test yourself. You force your brain to retrieve the information.
So like using flashcards maybe, or trying to explain a grammar rule out loud without looking?
Exactly. Summarizing a text you just read, doing practice exercises without peeking at the answers, all that good stuff. It makes the learning stick so much better.
Okay, that makes total sense. What else?
Spaced repetition. This is another powerhouse.
Right, I've heard of this. It's about timing your reviews.
Precisely. You review information at increasing intervals. So you might review a new word quite soon after learning it, then a bit later, then later still, just as your brain is about to forget it.
So it reinforces the memory trace each time.
You got it. It cements it in your long-term memory. There are fantastic apps for this spaced repetition systems, or SRS. Highly recommend them for vocabulary.
Cool. Okay, active recall, spaced repetition. What's next?
Contextual learning. This is huge for languages. Learning words from a list in isolation. Not very effective.
Yeah, you know the word, but not really how to use it.
Exactly. You need to learn words and grammar in context. See how they function in real sentences, in conversations, in articles or stories you're reading.
So paying attention to the English you consume, movies, podcasts, books, becomes part of the learning process itself.
Absolutely. Notice the patterns, the usage. Another key thing is targeted practice. Meaning focus on your specific weaknesses. Don't just keep practicing the things you're already good at because it feels comfortable.
You'll guilty as charged sometimes.
We all do it. But if your listening comprehension is weak, dedicate specific time to listening practice. If certain grammar points trip you up, target those. Be strategic.
Smart. Okay, what else helps efficiency?
Consistent effort over intensity. This is a big one. Short, regular daily sessions beat infrequent marathon cramming sessions almost every time.
Building the habit.
Exactly. It keeps the language fresh in your mind. And, almost goes without saying, but minimizing distractions. Find or create a space where you can actually focus, turn off notifications.
The eternal battle. But yeah, crucial for deep work. Anything else?
One last key principle, reflection and adaptation. Regularly step back and ask yourself, is this working?
Like evaluating your own methods.
Yeah. Am I retaining this vocab? Is my speaking getting smoother with this technique? Don't be afraid to tweak your approach based on what's actually delivering results for you.
Okay, so we have these two powerful concepts. Quiet ambition driving the focus and efficient learning making the effort count. How does this actually look in real life? The source had stories, right?
Yes, some really relatable examples. Let's talk about Hiroshi. He's a software engineer in Japan, needed better English for work, but felt pretty self-conscious about it.
Okay, familiar scenario for many. What did he do?
He went the quiet route, didn't announce big goals because he was, frankly, afraid of making mistakes in front of his colleagues.
Understandable.
So he focused on individual practice. He did a lot of shadowing. Listening to native speakers and repeating immediately after them.
Right, mimicking the pronunciation and rhythm.
Exactly. He did that privately, often during his commute. Great for pronunciation and intonation without the pressure.
Smart. And for vocabulary, especially technical stuff.
He used a spaced repetition app, specifically targeting words he encountered in technical articles and work emails, always learning them in context. His motivation came from those small, private wins, like finally understanding a complex email.
And did it work? Did people notice?
Over time, yes, colleagues noticed his English improved. But for Hiroshi, the main reward was internal, that boost in self-belief.
That's a great illustration. Quiet effort, efficient tools, leading to confidence and results. Who's next?
Next up is Sophia, a university student in Brazil. Her goal was studying abroad, so she needed to get much better at understanding fast, spoken English and nail down her grammar.
Okay, another common goal, her approach.
Also, quite low-key. She didn't make a big deal about it, but she systematically integrated English into her daily life.
How so?
Little things like changing her phone language to English. Big things like committing to watching movies and shows only in English, starting with subtitles, and then gradually weaning herself off them.
Immersion, basically, but self-directed.
Exactly. And for vocab, she was all about context. She'd write down whole sentences with new words, trying to grasp the meaning from the surrounding text. Plus, she used active recall with a digital notebook to test herself.
So applying those principles we talked about, did she practice speaking?
Yes, but again, often privately at first. Talking to herself in English, using language exchange apps with just a couple of trusted partners, it felt like her personal project. And yeah, it paid off. She achieved her study abroad goal.
Fantastic, making English part of her world, quietly and effectively. And the third story?
That's Kwame, a small business owner in Ghana. He needed better English for international business deals.
High stakes there.
For sure. And like the others, he kept his learning goal mostly private initially. Didn't want the added pressure while dealing with business stress.
Makes sense. His strategies?
Very targeted. He used his commute time to listen to business English podcasts. He wasn't trying to understand every single word, but focused on the main ideas, key terms, typical phrasing.
Efficient use of downtime.
Totally. And he specifically practiced language for emails and negotiations, using online resources for business English. He drilled those practical phrases he knew he'd need.
So very goal-oriented practice.
Absolutely. His quiet focus let him build skills without feeling exposed. And the results were tangible, better negotiations, more confidence reaching out internationally. People noticed the improvement in his business dealings, even though he hadn't broadcast his learning efforts.
These stories really drive it home, don't they? Quiet ambition plus efficient learning. It's not about hiding or finding shortcuts. It's about nurturing that internal drive and building real skills effectively.
Yeah, exactly. It allows for that deep focus and makes the progress feel more genuine and sustainable.
So let's bring it back to the listener. How can you start applying these ideas right now? Let's talk actionable tips, starting with chasing goals more quietly.
Okay, first step. Define your personal why. Before you tell anyone, get really clear internally on why you want to learn English. That's your anchor.
Good one.
Then be selective. You don't need to tell the world. Share your goal, maybe, with one or two people you really trust for support, if you need it. But that's it.
Okay. And focus on the process, right? Not just the end goal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Concentrate on showing up each day. Celebrate the small act of putting in the time, doing the practice. That's the real win day to day.
Maybe keep a private log instead
Yeah.
of posting updates.
Great idea. A private success journal. Note down small breakthroughs, moments of understanding. Reviewing that is a huge internal motivator. Way better than comparing yourself publicly.
Yeah, avoid the comparison trap. Focus on your journey, your progress from yesterday or last week.
And find low-stakes ways to practice, especially speaking. Talk to yourself. Use an app where you feel safe making mistakes. Find a supportive tutor or partner. Build confidence gradually.
Okay, solid advice for the quiet ambition side. Now, practical tips for the efficient learning part.
Right. Tip 1. Make active recall a daily habit. Test yourself constantly. Flashcards, summarizing, explaining concepts aloud. Don't just reread.
Use spaced repetition systems. Get an SRS app for vocab and phrases. Let the algorithm handle the optimal review schedule. Trust the system.
Learn vocabulary in context, always. When you see a new word, look at the whole sentence. How is it used? Grab example sentences, not just definitions.
Prioritize output. You have to use the language. Speak and write. Even if it's just journaling in English or talking to your reflection, make sounds, form sentences.
Yes. And identify and target your weaknesses. Be honest. What trips you up? Dedicate focused time there. Don't just coast on your strengths.
Try to create an English immersion bubble. Surround yourself with the language as much as realistically possible. Music, podcasts, news, phone settings. Make English unavoidable.
Find your optimal study environment. Minimize those distractions. Even 15-20 minutes of truly focused study is better than an hour of half-hearted effort with notifications pinging.
Reflect regularly. Once a week, maybe. Ask, what's working well, what's not? Am I making progress? And then
Adapt. Be willing to change your methods if something isn't clicking for you. It's your learning journey.
look for ways to integrate learning into your routine. Got a commute, podcast time, waiting in line, flashcard app time, small pockets add up.
And finally, especially for speaking, focus on communication over perfection. Aim for clarity, getting your message across. Don't let the fear of making small mistakes paralyze you. Fluency comes with practice, not instant perfection.
Wow. Okay. So when you put these two together, that quiet internal drive and focus combined with these really smart, efficient learning strategies, it feels like a powerful combination.
It really is. It creates this positive feedback loop. You're motivated internally, and your efficient methods lead to noticeable progress, which fuels more motivation. It's sustainable.
So wrapping up, we've really seen how keeping your goals a bit closer to your chest can protect your motivation, reduce that unhelpful pressure.
And we've covered a whole toolkit of effective evidence-based strategies to make your English study time really count. Active recall, spaced repetition, context, targeting weaknesses.
The key takeaway for you, the listener, is find your rhythm. Focus on your personal journey. Use these techniques consistently.
And trust in your ability to learn. That consistent, focused, efficient effort, it really does pay off. Believe in the process.
And here's a final thought to leave you with. Every single fluent English speaker you admire, they started right where you are now. They struggled, they hit plateaus, they made countless mistakes.
That's right. But they kept going. Often, it was that quiet, persistent determination that saw them through.
So embrace that quiet ambition. Set your goals, make your plan, do the work diligently day by day. Celebrate your private wins, trust the process, and truly believe you can get there. You absolutely can.